Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering the woke Bud Light controversy. Bud Light's CEO finally disavows Dylan Mulvaney's ridiculous promotional campaign. Coming from the dailymail.com, Anheuser-Busch CEO disavows Dylan Mulvaney's Bud Light partnership and says, quote, "It was not a campaign," after the firm sent a letter to retailers blaming an outside ad agency for approving it without management's awareness as sales crashed 26%. It's a little bit hard to believe. They're blaming somebody else. They're responsible for what they did. Obviously, they're responsible for the ad agency. Let's get into this article. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications and give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate you. The CEO of Anheuser-Busch has unceremoniously disowned the disastrous Dylan Mulvaney stunt, insisting it was not a campaign, as a letter to retailers says it was just one can. Global boss Michel Doukeris addressed the mass backlash over working with trans influencer Mulvaney for the first time in an earnings call with investors this Thursday. Doukeris told investors there's misinformation spreading on social media about the company's team up with Mulvaney, according to Fox Business. You know, that's something, it's their responsibility to get their messaging out. They're the ones doing promotions. They're the ones communicating with their customers, all the beer distributors, all the store owners, everyone is involved with Bud Light. It's their responsibility as a company to let people know what is going on. Doukeris added that the company is providing direct financial support to the frontline workers impacted by the boycott. That direct financial support is actually did a video on this yesterday. It's in the form of payments to waiters and waitresses, bar owners, beer distributors, beer sales reps. It goes across the board, so they're throwing cash at everyone. Millions of dollars. Doukeris said we need to clarify the facts that this was one can, one influencer, one post, and not a full campaign. Quote, "We will continue to learn, meet the moment in time, all be stronger, and we work tirelessly to do what we do best. Bring people together over a beer and creating a future of more cheers." That doesn't sound like it's going to really fix anything. If you think it will, let me know in the comments below. Investors were also told by Doukeris that Bud Light will triple its marketing spend this summer in a bid to woo customers back to the tarnished brand. Because if Bud Light doesn't bounce back by this summer, they will permanently lose their position as the #1 beer brand. It is true that light beer has been in a permanent secular decline, meaning that people are buying less and less light beer. However, they were selling $4.8 billion a year at grocery stores and convenience stores alone, liquor stores as well, in physical packaged cans and bottles, not even including what they were selling to restaurants and bars. That's an incredible amount of business for a brand, and they should appreciate what it is that they have. If they want to do a new version of the brand for social justice, go ahead, do that if you want. But they should not have done this. The disastrous marketing bid has seen sales for the American flagship beer plummet 26%, despite Anheuser-Busch's reporting first quarter earnings of $1.65 billion. And those earnings were up a little bit. The reason they made more money in the first quarter is twofold. One, it had nothing to do with Bud Light. Those things haven't hit yet. The Bud Light disaster didn't happen until their second quarter. Additionally, they were able to raise prices to deal with increased costs. For whatever reason, whether it's Bud Light or Pepsi, consumers are willing to pay more, and the big companies are making out like crazy, and they are making a profit on doing that. Doukeris' comments came as a letter was sent to retailers, bars, and restaurants by Grey Eagle, which distributes Anheuser-Busch products around St. Louis. It read, quote, "Anheuser-Busch did not intend to create controversy or make a political statement. In reality, the Bud Light can posted by a social media influencer that sparked all the conversation was provided by an outside agency without Anheuser-Busch's management, awareness, or approval." I just can't believe that. I mean, then why would they have gotten rid of Alyssa Heinerscheid, vice president of Bud Light, and her boss above her? Why are they not with the company if it was an outside agency that just took it upon themselves to do that? Additionally, why is there no word of a lawsuit? Because obviously this has caused dramatic damages to the Bud Light brand. Somebody should be paying for this if it was done without authority. That does not ring true. Since that time, the lack of oversight and control over marketing decisions has been addressed, and a new vice president of Bud Light marketing has been announced. The Bud Light vice president of marketing, Alyssa Heinerscheid, took a leave of absence while the vice president for mainstream brand, Daniel Blake, stepped down some days after. Their sudden departure appears premature in light of the recent comments, which also claimed there was no management awareness of the now infamous campaign. Bit of a conflict there. The specifics of how the can fiasco erupted remain under wraps. It is the first time the brewing giant has addressed the backlash in detail, after they were hit with a major dip in Bud Light sales following the paid partnership. I listened to the famous interview in its entirety, and Alyssa Heinerschied very specifically did claim, as we've seen in the clips, that Bud Light was a fratty brand. It needed to be updated. Sales were off. And if young people weren't drinking it, then the brand would have no future. You know, brands are very difficult to change. They're very difficult to evolve because a brand stands for something. It means something, especially if you have decades invested in it. Wanting to increase the sales of your product is fine. Wanting to reinvent the brand is also fine. But being able to go ahead and just reinvent the brand because you kind of want to, and throwing Dylan Mulvaney's face on a can and not making even clear that this is a one-off, one-of-a-kind, not communicating that's really a terrible marketing mistake. And if it's true it was an outside agency, I don't know why they're protecting this agency, because it would be very easy for them to name them and say, hey, we never gave authorization for this. But the idea, like with Star Wars, that Kathleen Kennedy decided, oh, we're just going to say the Force is female now and change all the rules of the Force, get rid of all the classic characters. You can't just do that because you want to. These people in these important positions really just take for granted that their consumers will follow them wherever they want to go. And that's never the case. No matter what your product is, no matter what you're trying to sell, it just doesn't work that way. When you're manufacturing and marketing something and consumers are generous enough to support your brand, pay their own money for it, and even suggest it to their friends and enjoy it socially, that's an incredible gift. Manufacturers and marketers should never take that for granted, and that's exactly what they did. The defiant rebuttal against the unofficial campaign comes as Anheuser-Busch reported first quarter earnings of $1.65 billion, which topped Wall Street expectations. As explained, that's because they increased their prices and because the Bud Light fiasco has not hit their numbers yet. Despite the company's attempts to disavow the connection, the video Mulvaney posted drinking Bud Light at the start of April 2023 used the hashtag Bud Light Partner. It implies that Mulvaney was paid for the partnership, despite the brewing giants now claiming that the beer can and social media posts were not meant for production or sale to the general public. Todd Allen, most recently the global vice president of Budweiser, has been announced as the new vice president of marketing for Bud Light after Heinerschied and Blake took a leave of absence. Mulvaney posted the content to coincide with the NCAA March Madness tournament before joking they didn't know what sport they were promoting. What an incredible disaster. After the post on April 1st, Anheuser-Busch lost more than $6 billion in market capitalization in just 6 days. And what that means is the value of all of their stock combined, if you were to buy it, that's the market capitalization. It went down by $6 billion. Mulvaney posted several videos and images on Instagram for the paid partnership, but it's unclear exactly how much Mulvaney was paid. Boy, they should try to get that money back. A former chief creative officer at Anheuser-Busch branded the decision to use Mulvaney as a calamitous mistake. Robert Lackey told STL Today, the minute you step into the political or religious spectrum, when you know your target audience is going to have a real issue with this, you know you've alienated at least half of your target audience. In the end, people don't like getting preached to, especially when it comes to drinking beer. He claimed that the marketing changed after Bud Light was brought by Belgian-based InBev in 2009 when non-US teams were brought in. Lackey added, none of these marketing folks has ever been to a NASCAR race, none has ever been to a football game or rodeo. That's insanity. That's marketing incompetence. This definitely looks a lot like marketing incompetence. If this was something where someone went off on their own and said, here, we're going to change the image of Bud Light. We're making the can on our own, which is very odd because how would a marketing company really make its own Bud Light can? I mean, they can. There are ways they would do it, but it would be very odd for them to make it and not consult the manufacturing plant. The manufacturing plant can make custom cans, promotional cans. They do that kind of stuff all the time. It comes after DailyMail.com obtained documents which showed the brewing giant hired 2 former GOP aides on the same day it went public with Mulvaney's video. Both Sean McLean and Emily Lynch were named as lobbyists for Bud Light's parent company on April 1st. Strange coincidence. It states the firm hired lobbyists from Origin Advocacy for representation on general policy regarding the alcohol beverage industry. The account is being handled by Origin founder McLean and employee Lynch, who are both veteran staffers to GOP politicians. McLean previously worked for Senator Ted Cruz and was the White House liaison for the Commerce Department under President Trump. He also once worked as a legislative director for Senator Marsha Blackburn when she served in the House of Representatives. Lynch worked as committee staff for Senator Susan Collins before later working as a legislative assistant for Representative Virginia Foxx. It comes after Coors Light and Miller Lite both saw huge gains in their sales, exactly to the amount that Anheuser-Busch's Bud Light was reduced. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you think it was the right move for the CEO to come out and say, hey, we had nothing to do with this campaign. It wasn't us. We know it was a ridiculous idea, essentially. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments below. Do you think Bud Light has any chance of bouncing back this summer? Because if they don't do it this summer, they're absolutely going to lose their #1 position. What could they possibly do? Is this explanation about hiring Dylan Mulvaney to promote their brand sensible at all? Do you get any sense that this makes what they did sound reasonable? Doesn't seem very reasonable to me. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Always love to see your comments. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.